Welcome everybody to Work in Progress. My name is Jeremy, and today I have a whole slew of television shows that I'm planning on talking about for this mockcast. I will try to avoid as many spoilers as completely possible, but just so you are aware, there probably will be a handful of spoilers involved in this week's episode, or this bi-weekly episode, because I want to do another one in a couple of days. So just be prepared for another one of these. I really like doing this. I'm sorry that my very first one was so late. We had some personal stuff going on. My grandfather actually passed away last week, and it was kind of difficult. There was just a delay in posting things just because of that, and I was taking some time off for myself, and I didn't want to just not upload it at all, so I decided to just upload it late. So I apologize for that. This one is on time. I'm filming it, what is even today? I'm not feeling too great, so I've been in bed a lot. It's the 28th, so this should be up the exact same day. So today I want to talk about a handful of shows, as I said, and I don't know about you, but I have this tendency of just watching the same shows that I'm very familiar with. I don't usually tend to branch out beyond things that I already watch, and one of those shows that I really love watching is Dead Like Me. And this is a show that I watched a long time ago. I say a long time ago like it was like years and years ago, but it was when I was still working at Hollywood Video, so it would have had to have been when I was around 18 years old. So doing some math, that's more than 5 years, which is a long time ago for me. I don't want to do all the math. It was more than 5 years ago for me, and it was such a good show. If you haven't ever seen it, you should check it out if you have Hulu Plus. It's a show about Grim Reapers. There's this character, her name is Georgia Lass. She goes by George, and while she is at her first like real big person job, she is on her lunch and goes outside and gets hit by a flaming toilet seat that came falling out of the sky from a space station breaking up in the air. And that's how you are introduced to this idea of death. Then you meet her new boss. His name is Rube, and he is the leader of the this little Grim Reaper team, who they just kind of refer to themselves as Reapers because they're not really grim except for two of the characters, I would say. And you meet this whole cast and you follow their adventures as they reap souls and help people move on from their current life into the next one. And it's just a really interesting way to tackle death that takes on a lot of campy humor with how people die. It's very dark and black humor, that I think that's the right term, where it's just like it's kind of twisted and demented, but it's funny at the same time. And it shouldn't be funny because of what the nature is, but it just kind of is. So it's one of those shows that you really kind of have to have a good sense of humor for if you're going to go into it. But it's really great, and I've been rewatching that again because it's just so fantastic. And I have a video that I do want to make that I'm going to be posting up in the next couple days about a theory that I have about the characters. Now I'll wait to post that up, but that's one of those shows that I really love watching. And I said in my first mockcast that I really have been getting into Sailor Moon, and I started watching Sailor Moon Crystal a while back, and I finished the whole season. I'm gonna call it the season 1 arc. People are just saying that it's arc number 1, and then we're technically in arc number 2, which is the Black Moon arc. In the first one, it dealt with Beryl and the Dark Kingdom and the 4 Kings of Heaven, and it fleshed out a lot of stuff that the original TV show really didn't. Crystal is supposed to be following the manga a little more. Granted, I've never read it, and I really don't know too much about that, but I do know about the original show, and I really think that Crystal has done a really fantastic job of taking everything that we love about Sailor Moon and taking out all the really key important points and fleshing it out in a very short time span. I wanted to say span and period, and then I almost said spirited, and that sounds really strange. I don't know. So I think they did a really great job with that, and the characters are really awesome. I like that Sailor Mars is not such a bitch to Sailor Moon, because it just really didn't come off natural in the show. It just seemed like we need this kind of tropey character in order to perpetuate this magical girl storyline, that we can't just have them all be really great friends and be slightly in lesbians with each other. One of them has to be kind of a bitch, one of them has to be like this way, one of them has to be that way, you know, like it just seemed they were trying to be a little too tropey. So I like that in Crystal those tropes kind of disappear, and people told me going into it that I would really hate Chibiusa. I will say that in R, from where I'm at right now, she doesn't bother me so much as it's just she has useless child syndrome, where there's not really a point to have her, but she propels the storyline sort of, and so it's she's like a necessary evil, where I don't feel that way so much in Crystal. I feel like they're doing a good job at explaining why she's there, or maybe not even doing that, it's more just explaining that she is this entity and she's not there like fucking shit up like Chibiusa did in R, where it's just she's there and all this bad shit is happening and Chibiusa's just screaming and causing bad stuff to happen, where in Crystal that hasn't really happened so far. But oh my gosh, with infiltration and with this whole like chess match with Amy, or it was abduction, infiltration was with Mars, abduction with the whole chess match with Berthier, and oh, it was such a slow episode for the first 3/4 of it, and then it really picked up right at that chess match, and there were some really deep, emotional, heavy moments that were happening that really touched like a soft spot in me, and I don't know what it is that I connected so much with Mercury on that episode, but it was so good, that chess match scene. They did such a great job with that. And I love all these new moves that the scouts are getting. And I love that Jupiter is the only one who doesn't get anything new. Like, all the characters all started out with pretty much the exact same powers that they've done. You know, like, Mercury has pretty much always done Mercury Aqua Illusion, or what was the other one? Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting right now? I should have written this down. The Aqua Mist, you know, and Ray always did the Fire Soul, and then Jupiter came in and she did the Rose Petal Hurricane, or the Flower Petal Hurricane, and then she did a Lightning Bolt, and then she started doing Supreme Thunder. So they kind of did everything backwards with her, because then when Venus came in, she was doing her powers, and then later on she got her Love Me Chain. And now in this arc, Ray just did Burning Mandala, which is such a cool fucking attack. I love that attack so much. And then Ami had the Shining Aqua Illusion, and then she had a Snowy Aqua Illusion. So they've given them all these different powers, and I think Venus even did something different this last episode. Maybe I'm incorrect. But Jupiter is still doing her Supreme Thunder move, and I want to see a new move in this next episode that's coming up, which is supposed to be about Jupiter. It's supposed to be about her secret, and I'm a little worried because Jupiter is my absolute favorite character in the show, and I really don't want her to go away, even if it's just for an episode. I do, and I have this theory that they had to send them all away because it's like their vacations time right now, you know, and they have to give the voice actresses a vacation from doing this show. But I don't want Jupiter to go away. I really like her. So we'll see what happens next. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the manga at all, so I really don't know what to expect. I can only expect what's happened so far is that there's going to be a new villain per Sailor Scout, since there are 4 of the Spectre Sisters, and I can only imagine that the next one is going to have some kind of lightning powers, and then the last one is going to have some kind of like love or affection powers, who knows. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where this particular season goes. I love it a lot, and I'm glad that I'm finally able to catch up with it as an adult. And I kind of want to go find some kind of store, or maybe even look online and try to get the rest of the original arc, because the only ones that are on Hulu are the original ones and then R, and I know there's like S and Super S and all this shenanigans where Sailor Moon gets like the Holy Grail and the I don't even know, the Ark of the Covenant and becomes like super Jesus Sailor Moon, like, you know what I mean? So I kind of want to get all those just so I can see what happens beyond R, because I'm afraid of finishing R on Hulu for not being able to watch further. And so beyond those, I've really been wanting to expand beyond the television shows that I already watch and that I'm comfortable with, and I started watching How to Get Away with Murder, and I'm gonna try my darndest to not spoil anything. It's been a couple of days, so I feel like I'm pretty safe to give some spoilers away, but we finally learned in the season finale, which was a fucking cliffhanger the entire way through. It was a nail biter. We finally found out who actually killed Lila, and I have got to say that through this entire series so far, I was not expecting the killer to be who it was. I was really expecting Rachel to be the one who was actually the killer, especially with this last episode before that, giving this weird context that Rachel seemed so guilty and that she seemed like she was really trying to hide something. And even throughout this season finale, showing her in different scenes, it just made her seem so guilty, like she actually was the one who killed her. But Rachel's never had any problem doing that. She's never had like anything that, you know, she covered up. She was very honest about her drug problems and this and that. So I never really got this impression that she was a killer, but these last couple episodes really started to paint her that she could have been. And I just was not expecting the ending of Lila, and the more that I learn about Lila, the more that I hate her as a character. And I was telling Jacob about it, and he said, so basically no one was really upset that this character actually died because she's just this crazy ball of nut job, and she's just so freaking annoying in every scene that they've shown of her. And I really don't understand why Sam would have gone so low to leave Annalise to go fuck this girl who was just crazy. And then Griffin, I'm pretty sure is his name, I didn't watch the season in its entirety because Netflix or Hulu only had episode 8, excuse me, when I started watching, and then when the next episode came out, it dropped episode 8 and went to episode 9. So I've only seen from episode 8 to the finale, and I kind of just read on Wikipedia the synopses for everything up until that point, so I was kind of caught up. So Griffin was the guy who was also fucking Lila, I believe, and he's gorgeous. His body was right, and everything about him was just way too good for her, and I don't understand why all these people have stooped so low to have sex with her. Maybe there was something in that first episode or two that I missed about Lila, but she has got to have a lot of money, really good dick sucking power, or she can like do magic spells to make people fall in love with her, because there's no realistic way that people would actually want to have some kind of relationship with her, because she's just nuts. And it's gotta be money. It's gotta be money or the dick sucking power. It's gotta be one of those two. Who even knows? I don't understand it, but yeah, that plot of who killed her, and technically it was somebody we thought that it was the whole season, but it was somebody else. Again, I don't wanna spoil anything, but I want to so bad. Also, I'm really suspicious of Bonnie, and I don't know why. There's something about her interaction with Lila when Lila came to go see Annalise that night, saying that she needed to tell her something about her husband. Something was just so suspicious and fishy about that. The fact that Bonnie, you know, let Sam kiss her, and there's just all these things that just don't really add up with Bonnie and who she is as a character, and she seems like she's covering for somebody to do something. And I know it's so vague, but that's kind of how the show is painting her right now, and I want to see what happens to her in season 2, which is going to be a real doozy considering the way that the show actually ended. And oh my gosh. Okay, so I just need to flesh this out. So, spoiler alert, Rachel is killed at the end of season 1, and we have no idea who did it. It could have been any of the kids, it could have been Annalise, it could have been Frank, it could have been Bonnie, it could have been some random person that, you know, whoever Eggs 100 was. It could have been anybody that killed her, and now she's like the one witness who we know for certain did not kill Lila, who was there the night that she died, probably knows who did it or has an inkling of who did it, and now she's gone. And it's the show itself is a little frustrating to me in that when you lie about something, you're never going to truly get away with it, because a lie, and whatever is, as Shangela would say in Drag Race, whatever is in the dark shall come to the light, you know. And it's so true that if you do something bad, like if you kill somebody, eventually you're going to get caught. And I know that this whole show is based on the premise of how to get away with doing it, but they just keep perpetuating this lie and keep burying themselves and doing these things that dig themselves deeper in this hole, where they're framing it on this person and they're planting this evidence here, and they're saying that they have this alibi that was never said originally in their statement, and now this thing is coming out and now they're saying this. And it's just, I'm really worried about where this show is going to go as far as the mental sanity of this cast in season 2. How are they going to be able to keep living their lives? And I feel like the only way to really get justice out of this whole show is to have all of them serve jail time at the end. Like, I would feel really unjustified as a viewer watching them all get away with this. And I know that they killed Sam because it was self-defense. I know that they needed to, but they should have been honest right from the beginning, and that wouldn't have damaged Rachel's case at all. Yeah, she broke in, but you know, like, they could have lied about that fact of why she was there. They could have just said it. They could have thrown her under the bus. Like, it's just, there's all this, I don't know, I don't know if I would feel justified as a viewer knowing that they all got off safely. I want them all to succeed, I want them all to be happy, but I don't know. I don't think I would be happy. But if you guys watch the show, let me know how you feel about all of this. Like, I love the characters, I love the mystery and the drama and the suspense and everything about it, but I really just want them to get in trouble for what they're doing, you know? And maybe that's just me being a goody-goody, because that's just who I am as a human being, but let me know what you think about that. So that whole show is a fucking trip, and I want to take that trip every single day, and I really want Hulu to go back and upload all of the original episodes, because I need to see episode 1 all the way through episode 8, because that's where I started. So I need that to happen, Hulu. If anybody from Hulu is watching this, and I doubt you are, please upload those videos so I can see them, because I really need to. I really need to see those episodes. So, there's that. I started watching that, and then I started watching 2 shows on Netflix. So my beef with Hulu is that, you know, we pay like $8 a month for this service, and yes, when you pay for cable, you have to get commercials, and this is only like 1 or 2 commercials in between episodes. But if you're paying for a service that sucks so badly, like, our internet just hates Hulu for some reason. The server's always crashing, the episodes are always just stopping, the subtitles can hardly ever keep up when I'm trying to watch, like, Sailor Moon. It'll just freeze, and then the whole show will just die because the captions aren't keeping up with the dialogue, and then the internet and Hulu freak out and then just shut it down. And then we have all these problems where Hulu is actually impossible to navigate. When you press the back button, it takes you to the home screen. It doesn't take you to the intelligent place where it should go back to the page you were on before. There's no real, like, organization. If you want to search, it's really freaking difficult and complicated, more than it needs to be. And it's just such an overly complicated system that to have the commercials, it's just really annoying. And when we signed up for Netflix, and when you sign up for Netflix, there are no commercials. And I love that you're paying money, you're paying for a service, and you don't have to worry about those damn commercials. And there are some shows that are on Netflix that are also on Hulu. Like, I'm pretty sure Once Upon a Time is on both of them. And why would you watch Once Upon a Time on Hulu? Yeah, you could probably get the episodes as current as they come out, but at least with Netflix, you're not gonna have to sit through commercials. You can just marathon the whole thing and not have to worry about ever sitting through the same damn commercial every single time that you turn on the show. Like watching Drag Race, it's the exact same commercials every single time, and it's really tedious. So that's just my little mini vent. So I wanted to start watching something on Netflix that I wouldn't have to worry about commercials with, something that could be compelling, and I saw something for The 100 on Hulu, and I wasn't really interested because Hulu doesn't do descriptions underneath the the clip grab of it. They just expect you to know about whatever you're watching, and if you click the more info, that's when you'll get it. But I like that Netflix actually shows a little information on the bottom, so I actually read the information that was under the 100, and I thought, okay, this could be an interesting show. For any of you who haven't seen it, it's a post-apocalyptic world. Reference to LaShawn Beyond right there, if any of you Drag Race Season 4 fans. Post-apocalyptic world where there was a big nuclear war that basically took out everybody that was on Earth, and it forced everybody to flee, and there's this space station that's called the Ark that's floating over the Earth. And what is going on right now is the Ark is running out of oxygen. It's going to take too long to repair, and there's not enough time. Nobody's supposed to go back to the Earth for 300 years. It's only been 97 or 98 at this point, and so they need to start sending people now to see if it's safe to live on certain places. They predicted one spot that they thought would be safe to live at, and so they send 100 people down, as implied by the show title name. Now, these 100 are not just regular people, they're juvenile delinquents. In the Ark, anything you do that is like bad or against the law is punishable by death unless you are under 18. Then you go to like juvie and you wait there until you are 18. Then you get the death penalty. And what the death penalty is they took the idea from Battlestar Galactica of sending people out the airlock, except they call it floating. And the thing that has always just made me giggle about both Battlestar Galactica and this particular show is that they always show it that when a body is ejected into space, they just kind of float around there. And if, you know, in this show there was one particular scene where they were looking up into the night sky and they just saw all these shooting stars that were not airplanes, by the way. And one of the characters says, it's a funeral. Those are all bodies from the Ark. And in reality, if you, and this is what maybe I'm completely wrong, but this is what I learned in school, if you are in a space suit, your pressure, your body pressure is regulated, just like if you were in the deepest part of the ocean that you could still survive in. You have an internal body pressure, and the suit is also maintaining that pressure. So it's this check and balance system to make sure that your insides don't explode. Now, because you are in a vacuum in space and your body pressure is at a certain point, if you go from, like, I'm just gonna say a 58 body pressure, I don't know what the actual numbers are, so I'm pulling shit out of my ass right now. If your body pressure is like 58 and you're going into a sub-zero pressure zone, your body will literally split in half and explode on contact of coming with a zone that has no pressure in it. It's like if you've ever gone up in hiking in a mountain, or if you've ever gone driving up a really steep hill and your ears pop, it's because the pressure's changing. And that whole effect would happen in your entire body. It wouldn't just be within your ears, because literally your whole body is going to a pressure zone that it wasn't acclimated to. And when you're climbing up a mountain, your body has a slow climb to get acclimated to that pressure, so it can go from 58 to 39 or whatever pressure would be. But you're literally going from an extreme where you're at to an extreme of nothing, absolute beyond zero, nothing. So your body would actually explode. And I find it funny with this show and with Battlestar that when they send people out the airlock, they just kind of float around. And I know it's gruesome and they don't want to show people blowing up, but there are just like little quirk things like that that I'm like, I don't know if it would happen that way. With the 100 though, okay, so going back, they're juveniles that are on Earth and they missed their target. They were supposed to land on this mountain that was a little bit, I think, what did they say, east of Washington, D.C., west, a directional pattern away from the capital of the United States. And they were supposed to go to this bunker which had enough food that would last them for a very long time, and they needed to basically wait it out and see if it would be safe. But because they sent juvenile delinquents to a planet Earth with no supervision and no bodyguards, and the only reason why they sent them is because they're quote-unquote expendable. They're already gonna die anyways, so they don't really need them sitting around clogging up the space and taking up oxygen when they could be doing something for the public good. Now, because they're all juvenile delinquents, of course they're gonna be little shits. And so they start to have anarchy, and there's just craziness and insanity, and people are dying, and they're taking off their wristbands which show their vital signs and link them to the Ark. Now the Ark has no way of communicating with them. Upon impact with the Earth, they lost complete and total communication with all of the kids. So the wristbands that they wear are the only things that they know are keeping them alive, and they can see all their vital signs. So if they're walking around and they're getting exposed to radiation, they'll see that they're dying of radiation poisoning. If they just die, their whole vital signs will go out. And so these kids are taking off their bracelets, and everybody on Ark is thinking, okay, all these kids are dying. And so there's this whole plot where they're all like, we don't want them to come and find us. They sent us here. They don't even like us. Let them die. Who cares about them? So we have this faction of maybe 5 kids who actually want to try to help and do what they were supposed to do when they got down there. And the rest of these 90-something kids are all little shits. And the acting is actually horrendous. It's terrible with most of the characters. And there are some moments that are like, okay, this is just like really odd and I'm not really following. It's a lot like, what is that show? Oh, I watched it on Netflix a couple of months ago. I want to call it Europa, but I know that it wasn't called Europa. It was something like that, where the premise was, in the future, everything was really fucked up and gross. And so they built this giant time machine to send this group of people back that could afford to go. And they sent them into basically prehistoric times, because that would be the one place that they could live off the land where they wouldn't really affect history and time. And so they are supposed to start this colony and civilization. It's a lot like that, where it's very, you know, like post-apocalyptic, where there are other humans that are living on this planet that are a threat, and there's this and that going on. It's very much like that, mixed with a little bit of Lost. And I really like the concept of the show. It really needs to be executed in a better way, if that makes any sense. It's good though. Don't let me discourage you from it. It's just it's a long way from perfect, and it's working its way there. Like, as I'm getting more into the show, you can tell the actors are getting their legs for what they should be doing and how they should be acting, and it's very obvious that this was written as a juvenile book. It's based off of a book series, and you can tell with some of the dialogue that it's so cheesy, and like, this is for under 17 aged, you know, lowest common denominator readers. There's one scene where like one of the characters is like, if you're ever sad, just grip this knife and say, screw you, I'm not afraid. Screw you, I'm not afraid. It was just, I laughed inappropriately, and I don't know if I was supposed to, but I just didn't read it as a serious moment. It seemed like a comedy moment, and I know that they were trying to have a serious moment, and it just did not come off that way. And there are just some dialogue lines between some of the characters that are just very, very juvenilely written and not meant for the highest common denominator readers. And I don't believe that the youth of today are as stupid as some of these current books that are coming out, and I don't want to drop any names of books that I've read. I don't want to believe that people are actually so stupid that they can't comprehend higher reading than some of this. And I feel like this is one of those books that was like meant for a non-intelligent reader, and I don't believe that that is what the kids of the youth of the world want these days. But anyways, moving beyond all this thrashing aside and throwing all this dust aside, the show is good. The show is very good. It's compelling, it's interesting, and the main character looks strangely like Ali Larter, and it's really disconcerting because they're not related. And I googled it, and there are people that say they look just like, that she looks just like Ali Larter. And there are even moments where she sits and she's talking and it sounds like Ali Larter. Like, if you were to close your eyes, you could swear that you were watching something with her in it. She's like a younger Ali Larter, and it's just really disconcerting. And one of the characters looks like YouTuber Jack Merrihew, and I was watching it and I was like, oh my gosh, is that him? no, it's not him. And I looked him up, and he's a completely different person, but it's also very disconcerting in a cool way. So this show is good. I would definitely recommend watching it if you have Hulu or Netflix. I don't know how much of the show is on Hulu. I can only imagine that season 2 was on there, because I think they're wrapping up season 2 right now, and I think they got renewed for a 3rd season, which is good, because I really want them to tie up all the loose ends and everything that are happening so far. I think I made it six episodes in, and then I stopped because I was taking a break. I was trying to write a little bit yesterday, and I had just had the worst case of writer's block. I seriously stared at the blank space of this document that I'm writing for, I want to say 10 hours straight, and I was up until 7 in the morning today trying to come up with something, and I came up with a paragraph that I ended up deleting because I hated it. This is the worst case of writer's block that I think I've ever had in my entire life. And I was watching these shows as I was trying to come up with ideas, and I decided to stop shows midway through the 100, and I started watching Dead Like Me for a little while. And then I swapped back over to Netflix, and I started watching a completely different show, which I really need to talk about this show, because it's one of those things that I really appreciate that it exists. It just has such a low caliber standard of what viewing is. Like, it's the lowest common denominator viewer. It's a show about zombies, and this show is called Z Nation. And I went into it with very high hopes because, you know, I love Walking Dead. I think it's a great show. And Z Nation is so fucked up in the weirdest fucking way possible. In one of the very first episodes, I want to say it is the first episode, everything just kind of blended in together after a while. We had a zombie baby that we actually saw turn into a zombie, get out of its crib, and start crawling around like a little demon, which was fucking terrifying and completely unrealistic. And then this zombie baby killed one of the characters, and then we actually saw the zombie baby get shot. And it was really fucked up and awful, because there's a baby that got turned into a zombie for no reason. Like, the baby was in the crib, did not get bit, did not get blood on it, just suddenly turned into a zombie, and it grew like 3 sizes bigger because suddenly its head was just as large as the stroller, and then was zooming around at this incredibly fast pace. The show has I'm just going on a rant right now about this show. The show has absolutely nothing consistent with what these zombies are like. In some scenes, they're 28 days later, where they are running like crazy fucking people, and they're screaming in agony, and it sounds like they're in pain, and they're like attacking people and climbing on shit. And then in one scene, they're like the Dead Like Me walkers, but stupider. Like, there was one scene where they were trying to climb this tower, and as they were climbing it, there's literally hundreds of zombies all around them, and they're just kind of casually walking by them, having full conversations, and the zombies don't even notice them because there's a pounding that's going on. And even in other zombie movies where there's like some kind of distraction to the zombie characters, they never not notice humans that are right there, that have no reason to not get attacked by these zombies. So it's very inconsistent with how the zombies are and how they act. There are some really creepy, terrifying moments. I appreciate that we have zombie animals. There was a zombie dog in this last one. I don't know how many other zombie creatures we're gonna see in this show, but we definitely had a zombie dog. There have been not a lot of weird, like, disconcerting moments. We did have a cannibal scene, and that was fucking terrifying. And what I appreciate about this show is that they've taken a lot of themes from other zombie movies, and they've really taken, in zombie shows I suppose, and they've really taken the highest points and pulled those into this. What I don't like is that there are some straight rip-off scenes, where there was one scene where they were walking down a major highway, and they had the exact same filter that Dead Like Me uses on their promotional poster for season 1. And there weren't any cars on the left side, but it looked like they photoshopped some of them out to make it look less like Dead Like Me, because then you see the city in the background burning, and yes, it's an easy shot to do, and that shot is not copyrighted by Did Like Me, but it was just a cheap move. And then the episode that I tapped out in because I just couldn't anymore, I had to stop, was this episode where a twister came and was picking up zombies and throwing them around the scenery. And I wish that I was shitting you right now. I wish that I could sit down here and be telling you that there was not a scene where a twister came in and zombies were being picked up by it and being hurled in all directions by this tornado. I wish I could tell you that that was not a real scene, but it was. And one of the characters referenced Sharknado, and she said, well, at least they're not sharks. I just had this moment where I'm like, even this show doesn't take itself seriously, that they had to make a joke about the scene that they've recreated. Now, this show does have some redeeming moments. There are some qualities about it that are redeeming. The characters tend to be kind of interesting, but I don't know, there's just so much weird shit going on that I'm just like, come on, this is not quality television, but I can't stop watching. It's like a bad car wreck. This show is not a B movie, it's not a C movie, it's not even a D movie. This is like the really low budget E movie that got like a straight to DVD release and then got turned into a TV show because it was too long or something, you know, like the intentions of what they're trying to do are good. The premise is that one of the main characters, he's a little psycho because he got bit 8 times by zombies and almost died, but was saved and did not ever turn into a zombie. So he's got the magical girl syndrome where he has the antibodies. He is what's her tits from Resident Evil, but he doesn't have any of the cool powers. He's just crazy. So they need to get him to the CDC in California. Why they couldn't do a CDC on the East Coast is a little beyond me. Who knows? I'm done questioning this show because there's just so many weird things that are happening. They need to get him over there, and they're making their way that way. And so in one sense, I do appreciate that they're kind of taking a classic trope with zombie films and zombie media and turning it into something that is their own. On the other hand, I wish that they had picked some better actors if they were going to be really serious about this show. And I think I was reading that they're trying to renew for a 2nd season. Maybe I'm completely batshit crazy on that, but I think they want to renew for a 2nd season, and I just wish that with this show they had some better actors. And it's the same problem I had with this show. It was a British TV show that I watched on Netflix a while ago. I want to say it was called like Infection or something like that, where it was a show based with the premise that like 90-something% of the population died from this really crazy version of the flu virus, and the main character she was exposed, she got sick, she almost died, and then she recovered. She has antibodies that can make a vaccine for this virus, and she's just kind of a dumbass. She's not crazy, but she's just kind of stupid. And she has some moments where she's like slightly intelligent, but for the most part she's just pretty dumb. And all these characters are so stupid, and they shouldn't be continuing to live every episode because of the decisions that they make, but somehow they do. And then there are just scenes that don't make sense, like they got robbed by a group that they were like driving down the highway, they thought they saw zombies and they got out to shoot them, but it turns out they were real people, and they like pointed guns at them and stole their truck and then drove away. And then the characters are driving down the street again, they get another car, driving down the street, and then they see all these thugs on the side of the road, and there's a family that is with them, and they're like pointing guns at the thugs, and then, you know, they get the thugs to put their weapons down, and then the family kills all of them, and then takes the truck and drives away. And then they start driving down the road again, and they see the family just dead on the side of the road for no reason. Like, this family of 4, and when I say family, there was a little girl and a little boy under the age of 9 who both had guns and took out, there were 9 of these thugs. They had 5 of them lined up in a row with their hands above their heads, kneeling down on the ground. They took out 9 of these thugs, and yet they got torn apart by zombies for no fucking reason, maybe 2 miles down the road. It's just, there are things that don't make sense that are in this show that are inconsistent, and it's a little frustrating, but it's a TV show nonetheless, and it's entertainment, and I appreciate the camp value that this show brings. So those are the shows that I have been watching and keeping up with. I know that there was a lot of ranting and anger in in this particular mockcast, but if you have any thoughts on any of these shows that I have talked about today, if you have any shows that you think that I should watch, that you really think is just quality TV that is either on Netflix or Hulu, we have both, like I said, except we're having some problems with Hulu. It logged us out last night, and then we couldn't log back in, and then Jacob was trying to figure it out on his phone, and he couldn't even get them to send a replacement password because it was saying that our password was incorrect. He couldn't even get a password sent to his email, so I think maybe Hulu went down last night. Should be up again soon. But if you have any shows that you're like, Jeremy, you need to watch this, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any thoughts on How to Get Away with Murder, Sailor Moon Crystal, if you watch The 100, if you watch Z Nation, if you have any thoughts on any Dead Like Me, please be sure to leave those comments down below. I'd love to read those. And I will be making a video with my theory about Dead Like Me very soon. Hopefully that will be up later on this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Today I will probably have this mockcast up next week on my SoundCloud account. I need to go through it and look at that again and figure out exactly how to make all this work. So I'm probably going to have it up next week, so look for that next Saturday hopefully. And I will see you guys in just a couple of days. Jacob, Jesse, and I are going to do a mockcast on the new season of RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm really, really excited to see this season. I hope you guys are too if you watch it. And I'll see you guys then. Bye! I don't know what that was. That was strange. Goodbye.